afternoon. In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through some of the steps that you're going to do to make sure that you have an amazing, successful user guide. So first of all, we use a piece of software for this called Microsoft PowerPoint. Now, I've used several other things in the past, and this is the piece of software that in general does the best for what we need to do for this. So the easiest way to get there, I can click on the Applications folder down here, and there should be a link for Microsoft PowerPoint right here. You can also go up to the search window up here, and you can do a search for PowerPoint on your computer, and it should open up that way. Okay? So either of those two ways work. So I'm going to open up PowerPoint. Now, if you've never opened up PowerPoint before, it'll take a moment to load up. It might ask you a couple of random pop-up questions for first-time users, but in general, we're going to be using PowerPoint to help us out. Now, most of you are probably familiar with Google Slides, which is the presentation tool that's similar to what you've got going on over here with PowerPoint. Like most Microsoft things, it does everything that Google does. Like Google Docs and Microsoft Word are the same. Sheets and Excel, Sheets and Excel are the same, and Slides and PowerPoint are the same. But the Microsoft stuff can do things a little bit more in depth and in more detail, which is why we're using it. But I want to search all templates because we don't want to make a presentation. What we are going to be making is going to be something that's called a brochure. So I just typed in the word brochure, which is B-R-O-C-H-U-R-E, and you can tell that I've got lots of different options that pop up. Okay? Now, the things that are the most important for this project is that it is a tri-fold brochure. Now, don't get too caught up on the colors because you can change a lot of this. So don't worry about that so much. And I recommend that you choose one of these, the trifold, travel brochure, or the business ones. Those are the ones that are a little bit the easiest to use, like this travel brochure right here. I'm going to click on this one, and I will click Create. Okay? Now, there is one thing that's really important to note about this that's going to be different than the Google stuff, and that is if you do not save your work, it will not save your work. So you will need to go and put forth the effort to make this into something of your own. Okay? So if you make some sort of adjustment to your user guide, then you're going to need to make sure that you save it when you're done. So if you go to File, and you should do this now, and you go to Save, it's going to ask you to change the name of your presentation. So why don't you change that to User Guide right now, and you're going to want to click on My Mac once you've created the name, and then I recommend saving it to Documents works well. Save as, User Guide, Documents, File Format, PowerPoint is what we're looking for. Okay? So when you save it, it's going to appear down there. If you are trying to open your user guide and it doesn't automatically open up in future classes, you could even do a search for user guide on the computer, and you can find it that way. Okay? So PDF documents, it's on here. Okay. Anyways, so here's the big thing about using PowerPoint to help you out with this. First of all, you're going to notice that it is two different pages. One of them is going to be the outside, and one of them is going to be on the inside. So you do need to use all of the different panels. And you see how they have these little dotted lines. This is going to be the fold lines. So you're going to want to make sure that your stuff doesn't necessarily go over this dotted line unless it's on the inside, because when you unfold your user guide, it doesn't matter if it covers over there. But the stuff that pops up for this, again, it's a template. So there's going to be a lot of things that you are not going to want. We do not care about Margie's Travel Company. So you're not going to want to, or you're going to want to make sure that by the end, you do not have all of these things here. Now, one thing that you will note about these different text boxes is that they're there to show you how things are all lined up, how you can rearrange things, might be something that you're going to want to keep in mind. So I do not recommend that you go off and just delete everything, but you should make sure that by the end, you've taken care of stuff. So here are a couple things that are important to note, okay? First of all, you have pictures that are in here, and you have text boxes that are in here, okay? There are also background shapes, and there are different design colorations. So you might first want to start to think about the colors that you're going to use in this project. Now, the way that PowerPoint is arranged is that they have these tabs up here, and they have these header menus, okay? Most of the stuff that you do is going to be inside the section that says Home. When you guys are editing a text box, this is where you're going to be making changes to the size of the font and maybe the font type. If you want to have the coloration be a little bit different, if you want to have the text color be different, this is where you change it. If you want to have it be italicized, that's where you can change it. Sometimes things work really well, and sometimes things don't. If you want them to be centered, you'd click here. And again, font sizes might be something that you adjust. There you go. Let's say that that's what you want. Okay, this is all great and everything, but there's some other things that you're going to want to be absolutely aware of. Up here, you have the Insert menu. This is where you can put in things like additional photos. You can add in shapes or other backgrounds. You can add in pictures that are going to make your project look really good. And if you click on this little down arrow, picture from file is where you'll want to choose if you're trying to find something specific on your computer. Like in case you want this logo that says Tinkercad, okay? When you do click on Insert, it'll appear, it'll have these little boxes around the outside that you can use to adjust the size, and something that PowerPoint does that can be really helpful is you see that there's this little dotted line that goes down the very center of your project. That means that it's centered within something on the page, okay? It might be centered within this text box. It might be centered within the whole columns on here. You'll notice that as I drop it down, it shows that there's some centering lines around the columns on the edges, like it lines up with something. It's just, those are just things that are there to help you figure out the perfect level of placement. Now, when I did insert this picture, it popped up this little additional menu that's not normally there. This is where you can add in some additional different effects. If you want to crop out a picture, like part of a picture, you can do that. If you want to put a little border around the outside so that you can see clearly where your picture ends and where it begins, that might be something that you want to do. You can adjust things. If you click on that little down arrow, maybe you want to have a nice thick border around the outside, and there you go. You notice that when I left click off of the picture, that menu popped away. To get back in, you will have to click on that picture again. You see how when I click on this picture, that thing still popped up? Okay. So design is going to be the theme of your entire project. You see how this has this dark gray and red and kind of brownish color. You might want it to look a little different. It generally comes up with things that you can use as colorations so that you don't have to think too hard as to how you want it to look. Like if I choose this, it's going to change the theme of all of the different parts of the project in the background and some of the font sizes. Now there's lots of different things that you can choose. You have the generalized way that it looks, and then you can kind of modify it a little bit more within that. You see how when you choose like this one, it changes things to be a little bit different, but then you can kind of make some small adjustments with your theme. If you don't want to choose any of these, there's always this little drop-down arrow to pop out so that you can find something else that might work better for your project, okay? Don't worry about transitions and animations and slideshow and review, because this is not a slideshow. Because when you guys are printing these, you're going to be printing these two slides off back to back, and it's going to make a beautiful trifold brochure. So the things that you're going to want to do is, since you've done all of the work already, you've created the different parts of your assignment, you have the getting started section, you have your tips, your warnings, and your troubleshooting guide, you're going to start to want to go into your documents, copy and paste these into different parts of this project. So if you have, let's say you have some stuff already taken care of, here's my getting started section, I can just highlight, copy it, I can go back into PowerPoint, and then I can get rid of one of these particular things that I don't need, paste it in, and then I'm going to have to do some editing. You see how the formatting is a little weird. I might have to go off and get rid of some things, maybe highlight everything inside here and change the font size or the spacing size. This is where Command A comes into play pretty effectively. Then I can change the font size all at the same time. Maybe I need to change the text box width and size a little bit to make it so that it all fits in there. Okay. One thing that this is lacking though is a header. So this kind of doesn't look very good. It's kind of hard to see. So you might want to add in a header somewhere. Maybe you want to get rid of that picture. Maybe you want to get rid of this whole picture placeholder as well. The text box button up here is going to be where you can left click and drag and create a whole new text box, so that maybe you want to put in a header getting started guide. Maybe you want to put a header in here so that it looks a little better for what we're trying to do. Let me go in. It thinks it's a shape now, so let's go to text box. Let's try that again. There we go. I don't know why it changed it from a text box. These are things that you might have to just play around with. Getting started guide. Maybe change the width of this. Maybe I want to do shape fill, because you see how this little extra shapes tab popped up. Maybe I want to have the fill be a little bit different. Okay, I wanted it to be gray now. I don't know if I like that. I'll go back to the shapes format. Maybe I'll change it to that purple background. The text color, maybe I want to have my text be red. And maybe I want to add in some additional effects. Maybe I want to have a shadow there instead. So let's see here, maybe an inner shadow. Maybe I want to drag this to make this a little bit bigger. And then I can start to try to figure out a good spot for this to go. You can see I still need to make some adjustments, but that's what playing around is going to do. And again, this is some boring blank space. So I'm going to want to put in something right here, maybe a picture, to make it so that it's like, oh yeah, of course, this is my getting started image that I'm going to put up here. Maybe layer it in a good way so that it matches what's going on over here. So you should do this for all of your different parts. By the way, this right side over here, this is going to be the front page of your user guide, because this column is going to fold over on the inside in here, and then it's going to fold along this side behind here. So this is the front page, not the left, but the right side. So this would be a good place for you to put user guide, for your name, something along these lines. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. And this is absolutely where your face should go, not Margie's travel people on their little sleigh, although they do look like they're having fun. Okay? You should absolutely put your picture right into this spot. Okay? There is one thing that you're going to want to be aware of when you are doing copying and pasting, and that is the table for your user guide, okay, your troubleshooting section. By the way, I'm going to figure out how many rows across, or columns across, and rows down my table is, and it's 3 across, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? So if I highlight all of this, and I press Command-C to copy, I go back into PowerPoint, and I go to Insert, and I go to Table. I click on that little drop down because I want to have it a 3 by 8 table. Okay. Now, when I highlight the entire table and paste it, it's going to match up really nicely, okay? This is the easiest way to do it as opposed to trying to make a table inside here that's going to work. And you also don't want to directly just copy and paste it, because when you do, it ends up being like it's a little bit weirder on the backdrop. You have to add in some back color. You might make it look good, or it might not look good. This is honestly the easiest way to do this. And again, when you have a table, the little design table pops up, and you can make it look different in the way that you might want. You can change individual cells, or within here, you can change the entire layout. Maybe you want to add in different types of shading so that it looks a little different for you. Okay? And again, when you're all done, you have to make sure that you save your work. Because if you don't, all of it will go away and you will be sad. Enjoy.